All right, so this first topic will be about the time session solver. All right, so let's go to the solver nodes here, and way down at the bottom is the time solver. Let's connect that in. All right, so if we connect this in, and if we look at our chart and squeeze this up a lot, there, right, we can see that there's no output here to be seen. So understandable, there shouldn't be any kind of output yet because we haven't plugged in any time sessions yet. All right, so the point of the time solver, so let's take a step back and let's get to the point, what is the purpose of the time solver? Well, it's to identify blocks of time to allow your trade signals to get through, right? So basically, right, the typical way that someone's going to want to use the time solver is if we go into the time session or the custom session here, right? The typical way that probably 90% of people are going to want to use the time solver is they're going to want to use the US equities RTH, right? RTH, regular trading hours, right? That's what RTH stands for. And if we look here at our blocks of time, we can see it's from 9:30 to 4 p.m., right? 9:30 to 4 p.m. So the next question is, well, what time zone is that? Well, there is a time zone option down here. And so we can see that this is 9:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, right? So this would be the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ time zone there. And so when you see a time zone option, whether it be within your indicator or within NinjaTrader's trading hour sessions. Let's see, where else might you see this? Oh yeah, on your chart, right? Your chart has a trading hours option here. Let's see, yeah, I can't bring it up, but if you go into the data series option for your chart, right? There's a trading hours session template that you can select. So the whole purpose of a time zone is to adjust the times that you have selected to your computer's time zone, right? So the time zone, so basically the time solver will convert 9:30 Eastern time to your local computer's time zone, right? So if we look down here, right, my computer is set to 10 a.m., which is Mountain Time, right? So this time zone option will convert 9:30 Eastern time to my time zone of Mountain Time. So when you see, if you use one of these kind of NinjaTrader's built-in sessions, right? So you can see these are all the trading hour sessions from all the exchanges, right, around the world. And this is what's included with NinjaTrader, right? So that's where all these are coming from. They're coming from NinjaTrader, right? So just to, let's close this out here. Right, so just to fully explain here and give you guys a visual, if we go to tools and then let's see here, where is it? Trading hours. There we go. So if we go to trading hours option, right, here we go, trading hours, and here are all of those sessions, all of those time sessions there. So if we scroll down the bottom, right, there's the two US equities, and there's the US equities RTH, right? So that's what the time solver is giving you here is the default trading hours sessions, and then once you have one loaded in here, you can then go in and customize it. Like I could take Friday. Let's say you don't want your system to trade, or you don't want any signals, I should say. This doesn't prevent trading, it just prevents the signal. So, so let's say you don't want any signals on Friday afternoon. So you can just go in there and modify it, right? And you're done. And so you can now custom tailor this, to whatever kind of, times you want to see signals for. And then you can see up here at the top now it says custom. Right, so now it's telling you it's a custom. You've customized the trading hours session template you know, and it was originally based on the U.S. equities there. Yeah, if you want to kind of undo this and clear it out, I can just go back. Oh, actually, yeah, should hit clear. Let's hit clear first, and then go back to my list, and there you go. So, all right. So let me kind of get back to my previous point, which was, you know, I started off showing you that there was no output from that solver. And so now we can see that there is an output here, right? And I'll swing back around to talking about the time zone again in just a moment here. Right, so this is the whole point of the time solver is you can see it's identifying when you're in those blocks of time, right? So we're going from 7:30, right? So if you look at my chart where my cursor is at, 7:30. So again, remember so this is Thursday here, right? It starts off at 9:30, but that's in Eastern time zone. So you can see that the time solver has converted Eastern time to my time zone automatically there. So there you go. So from 7:30 until current, right? And if we go back, let's go back to yesterday here. So there you go. So we can see the end of the trading hours. And if I keep scrolling back, and there we go. And there's 7:30 again in the morning when the regular trading hours opens up. So with this, you know, block of time identified like this, point again, just to kind of illustrate what is the point of the time solver is, let me just take a quick inflection solver here and I will set it to price. And so if we look at this time solver, right, bingo, right, there's a lot of, let's just, you know, pretend that these are a lot of signals here, right? And so if I want to constrain these signals to a specific time of day, then what I can do is take a AND node and stretch this out a little bit. There. All right, so there's all my signals. And now if I take the time solver and connect it in, and there you go. Now you can see the signals are blocked during the overnight session, right? So the signals start up at 7:30, at the beginning of the trading day, and then they will end, right? Last signal would be the last possible signal would be at, well, it'd be 2 p.m. on my time zone, or 4 p.m. Eastern time zone, right? So there you go. So that's the whole point of the time solver is to remove signals from the overnight trading session. And so in return, if you take BloodHound, if you take your BloodHound signals, and let's say, for example, if you use them, let's open up the strategies window here. So if you use them with Raven, right, that would basically, a Raven would only be trading, right, during the regular trading hours, right, when your signals appear, right? Yeah, so with Raven, you wouldn't have to worry about getting trade signals overnight. All right, there, I'll just leave this off to the side here. And it's always a good idea to name your solvers here. All right, so let's go back into the scheduler, interface here. All right, so let's dive into the scheduler here. And let me go back to the time zone here. So, right, so these times are based on Eastern time. So let's say, you want to base these time zones on your local time zone, because that's what you're more familiar with, right? So let's say if you're on the Pacific coast, right, the West Coast here, the U.S. West Coast, right? So you would be using the Pacific time zone there, and right, so this is going to be 9:30 Pacific time zone. So if I click OK, right, let's take a look at what that does. Here, let me go back to. Yeah, you notice how I'm not seeing any output on for today. And so let's see what's going on here. And let's see, yeah, there is Thursday. Changing the time zone there seems to have affected things. Let's go back to, there we go, there's Eastern time again. And there we go. Oh, yeah, that is correct. Sorry, right. Yeah, sorry about that. So going back to, doing all this conversions of time zones in your head can get a little confusing here, but yeah, if I switch these times to Pacific time, yeah, 9:30 Pacific time hasn't occurred yet. So yeah, so there's not going to be any signals. Yeah, so if we wait one more minute, there we go. So now 9:30 Pacific time. Yeah, we just reached 9:30 here. So let's see here. Yeah, so as soon as this bar closes, oh yeah, that's another thing. Sorry guys, a lot of facets going on here. If we look at my chart here, I'm on a 10-minute delayed data feed here. So yeah, if you look at my chart, right, it says 10:21, but the actual time is 10:30, right? Because I'm on a 10-minute delayed data feed here. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to wait another 10 minutes, and then the time solver will be inside the time solver's session, right? So everything is correct there. We just gotta remember that we're now saying we want to see 9:30 Pacific time, which is definitely 3 hours late. The market starts actually at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. It's kind of good that we ran into this, because this kind of illustrates the point I want to make here, which is, if you want to switch to your time zone, you then need to go in and adjust these blocks of time, right, to match the time zone here, right? So I would need to move all these blocks of time ahead, right, earlier in the morning, in order to match the actual regular trading hours, the RTH, right? So if I still want this to be RTH, I got to convert this to my time zone, right, Pacific time here. All right, so yeah, so on the West Coast, trading hours are from 6:30 to 1 p.m. based on that. And so now if I click OK, squish this up again. So now if I go back to my chart, there we can see the time solver again starts at 7:30 my time zone. So just keep that in mind, that if you change the time zones, you do need to adjust all of your blocks of time to match your trading times for your time zone, right? So changing the time zone does not adjust, the actual times of this block, right? So if I go back to Eastern time, right? Actually, yeah, keep an eye on my chart here, right? So we're starting at 7:30. So if I switch this back to Eastern time, like so, now it's going to start much earlier in the morning, right? 4:30, and that is definitely, that's not within the RTH, right? So again, the point being, changing your time zone does not automatically adjust the actual times in the scheduler here. All right, so there's an example of the time zone, of using the time zone, what it's for. And let's see here. All right, so a couple of other things to note about this. Right, you can see that there's a time scale on the left here, and you can see it's currently in 1 hour blocks. So it defaults to showing you one hour rows, right? Each row represents 1 hour. So if you want to see a higher resolution of that, you can right click. So that is right clicking in this area, and you can see, right, we can go down to 30-minute time resolution, 15-minute, 10, all the way down to 5-minute resolution. All right, so let's just go down to the 30-minute there. And so now if I move a block of time, right, we see it again, it's at 9:30. I can move it now in half-hour increments. So now it's 10 a.m. So it moved it half an hour, right? So we can see it's going to snap up and down in half an hour blocks of time there. Right, and that's just for if I just want to use my mouse as well here. Right, so let's say I wanted to end the signals a half an hour before, right before Friday close or something like that. I could do that, or maybe I just I want all my signals to end half an hour before the market closes. Right, I could just drag them all up, and then just clip off that last half hour there. Let me do a demonstration using the oil markets here. And so again, with oil, right, most oil traders like to skip the oil inventory report here on Wednesday mornings. So if we wanted to do that, what I could do is actually let's go back into 30 minutes here. And we'll do something like this. Right. So what I just did right there is I picked a cell. I picked one of these cells here, one of these blocks, and I double clicked on it. And that will open up the start time and end time interface. So you can actually go in here and type in the time zones if you wish. So if you really want to be detailed, that's what you'll need to do here, is type your time zones in there. So let's say here, for example, let's say I wanted it to be, I forget exactly when the oil report comes out. I think it's 10 a.m. here. So let's say we wanted to put this to 9:49, something like that. There. And then I don't want to trade for, let's say 9 minutes after I want to block all my signals, until 9 minutes after the inventory report comes out. You can do something like that. Right. Here, let's go in a little finer here. There. So now you can see, right, I have a block of time going from 9 a.m. to 9:49 a.m. And then we have a new block of time that starts at 10:09, right? So basically, this blocks out, a couple minutes before the inventory report and a couple minutes after the inventory report. Right here, let's go down to 5-minute resolution. There we go. There, now we can see that. Right. So if you if you double click on one of these blocks of time, it'll open up this interface here, and then you can be very specific on exactly when you want your times to start or end. Yeah, keep in mind that if you're using, when you're using, a minute or even seconds, you got to keep in mind that you're constrained by the time stamp at which the bar closes. All right. So this scheduler, it's going to identify, again, BloodHound is, you got to think back in the bigger picture. BloodHound is operating on bar by bar, right? So this time session solver is not operating intra-bar, right? It's operating when the bar closes. So if you're using 1 minute bars, well, putting in 30 seconds isn't going to do any good because you still got to wait for that minute bar to close. So actually what the time solver would identify, in this example here, the time solver would actually identify the 9:59 1 minute bar, right? It's not going to fire off halfway through the bar. BloodHound waits for the bar to close, and then the solver will identify that bar for you. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. If you're using really high resolution times like here, that the time session solver, while it is working on a second by second basis, but the way NinjaTrader operates is that the BloodHound indicator right, is going to wait for the bar to close before anything is calculated. Okay, so let's put this back here like that, and yeah, so there you go. So we can just see that little window here where no signals would get through. So let's take a look at that. That'll be yesterday, and there we go. There's our little window here during the inventory report, right? And so no signals would get through there. So again, here, let's take a look here. Right, there we go. So here's our little block here, our little absence of signals right in here. Right. If we look at all the signals, let's see, where was that? There we go. Right, so there's all the signals. Right, all the signals, so lots of signals in that block of time, and then we can filter it out using the time session solver here. Remove all the signals out of that period of time there. Right. So I could right click, and I could delete a block of time, boom, it's gone. So now basically no signals. Yeah, here, let's clip this. There. So now all these all these signals here just disappeared on us. All right, and that's pretty much it. There's not much more to this than that. So now let's actually cover the actual solver properties here, or options. Normally, so the evaluate here, let's cover the evaluate, right? So that you can see the options are both long or short. So if I put it on long only, right, the time solver only has a long signal coming out of it. Or short only, right? Only a short output. You'll only get a short output there. So yeah, the purpose of the evaluate is to isolate long signals or short signals. Right? Normally, I'd say 99.99% of the times you're going to want both. So normally, you're always going to want long and a short signal output. And what that does is, if we look at our signals here, right, I'm getting long and short signals. So if I go back to my time solver here, and if I change the evaluate to long, right, now all we see are long signals, right? So the time solver is now only allowing long signals to get through. And so, right, that doesn't make much sense, right? Normally you're not going to want to do that, but I don't know, maybe there's some unique instrument that you're trading, and you've always noticed that, like on Friday afternoons, Friday evenings before the market closes, that there's always a little bit of a sell-off. So if you wanted to, you could use this evaluate to create a custom short only signal period here, right? So yeah, here, let's go ahead and do that here. So you'll have like one solver here, that's going to allow. Yeah, it's an interesting question here. I just kind of created for myself. Well, in any case, we're going to need another time solver here. So we'll create a Friday end of day short only session here. Something like that. All right, so we'll set the evaluate to short only. And then let's go and create a custom session here. Let's see. Well, we don't have Friday afternoon to work with, so let's just make one for Wednesday. Yeah, let's say maybe the oil, I don't know, likes to sell off on Wednesday evenings, right? So let's just create a half-hour block of time here. There we go. So we want this to be 2:30. There we go. All right, there we go. So there's our little block of time with shorts only coming from this solver. And so, I have my, let's see here, Mountain, Eastern, yep, see. So this is set to Eastern time, all right? So remember, this solver here I've been using is set to Eastern time. This new solver here that I started, it is set to Mountain time, right? So it defaulted to my time zone. So I need to synchronize these time zones here. There we go. There we go, much better. All right, so here, let's put a little rectangle around these. There we go. So there's our little period of short only. All right. So right now we can see, right, we can see we have long and short signals in here. So if we want to isolate these to short signals only, something like that. Let's see here. We need to, I'm going to need an OR node. All right, so with this OR node, right, so I have my my little, right, well, this isn't Friday. Here, let's adjust this, right, this is actually going to be Wednesday, end of day, short only. Right, so again, let's take a look at this, right? So this time solver, right, is short only here. And then this other time solver is allowing longs and shorts. So I need to go into my I guess you could say my main time solver here. I need to go into it, and let me adjust my resolution here. And I need to clip Wednesday, right? Wednesday at the end of day. I need to clip it by half an hour, right? So you can see my block of time here ends at 2 p.m. Right? It's ending at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And so now, if I look at my OR node, there we go, right? So during the main part of the day, I have a long output and a short output, and then at the end of the day, that's this half-hour block, I'm allowing short signals to get through, right? So again, let's take a look at our time, our blocks of time here again. Right, so on Wednesday, right, we're ending at 2 p.m. Right, and that's from our main time solver here. And then our custom one here, if we look at it, right, it's starting, there we go. So it starts at 2 p.m. and ends at 2:30. So there you go. And so the OR node basically combines the two outputs of these two different time solvers, right? It takes their outputs and combines them together, and that's what we're seeing here is the combined output. So then I can connect that in. I can connect this OR node in, right? And there we have it. So we have long and short signals during the main part of the day, and then this last half hour, right, we only see short signals here during this last half hour. So yeah, so there's an example of how you can kind of create a custom short only period, or of course I could switch this evaluate to long only, and then we would only have long signals during that last half hour, right? So that's what the evaluate there is used. And invert, here, let's take a look at what inverting does real quick. All right, so there we go. We've got kind of like, all right, these blocks of time identified here. So if I go and set the invert to true, right, there you go. You can see it inverted everything, right? So there you go, complete invert. So you probably don't want to, you'll probably never need to use the invert. Right, this is just a standard setting that all the solvers have. You know, all solvers have this evaluate and invert. So normally you're not going to ever need to use the invert. You know, I guess what would be more appropriate is to adjust the output here. Right. So use the not in session. right? So we can see the not in session is doing the same thing. All right, so basically, do you want to identify, the in session time, right? And the in session time is basically the block of trading hours, or do you need to identify the not in session? Yeah, so let's create a quick example of using the not in session here. And that would be, I'm going to make a new logic template here. All right, so we're going to create a little exit signal here that'll exit 5 minutes before the end of day, right? So I have the time session solver logic template, and so this would be an example of using the not in session here. Let's see here. All right, so I've got some kind of name here for my solver, so let's go into the session here, and I'm going to start just using the US equities RTH, and then let's set the resolution down to 5 minutes, and what I'm going to do is just clip 5 minutes off of the right, I'm clipping 5 minutes off each block of time here, like so. So now if we scroll up, right, if we look at our end times, right, the end is now 3:55 p.m. So I just clipped 5 minutes off of each of the end times here. And so you can see we're getting an output here at 1:55, right, my time zone. So that's 5 minutes before the market ends. And these are, and remember, this is an example of creating an exit signal, right, to make sure that all your trades are closed out if you're using a strategy. Again, so, using an exit signal, again, applies to using a strategy here. So if I go into the strategies window, right, so again, for example, if you're using Raven here, if I put it Raven, right, you have this exit logic, right, which will, the whole purpose of this exit logic is to close out a trade, right? To make sure that Raven is flat at some time of day, some point during the day here. And so you would take this, this exit logic template, and you would set it in Raven in the exit logic template here. And then that would make sure that when Raven sees these signals in the exit logic template, it knows to close out any open position, right? It's gonna cancel all your orders and then flatten the trade, flatten the position, right, when it sees these. And you'll notice that right, we're having an exit signal during the entire overnight session. And that's fine. Because again, these are exit signals. So they're not going to put you in a trade, right? They're just designed to exit a signal. So this is just going to, so basically, let's go back here, right? So once Raven sees the first exit signal, right, it's going to flatten your trade, cancel your orders, and that's it. You're done. And then when Raven sees these other exit signals, they're just ignored because there wouldn't be any trade to flatten, and there won't be any orders to cancel, right? So all these extra exit signals are just benign, right? There is no trade to close. There is no orders to cancel. So they're just ignored, right? So it's okay to have extra, to have all these extra exit signals overnight. It's not going to do anything funky, right? It's not going to do anything weird. And then, again, the exit signals, let's stretch this out again. Here, right, the exit signals end at 7:30. So there we go. So yeah, so that would be, I guess, a typical example of why you might want to use the not in session would be to create some exit signals, something like that. I mean, that's one way to do it. You know, quite often with BloodHound, there's multiple ways to do the same thing, right? I mean, we could create exit signals using the in session if we wanted to. You know, so for example, grab another time solver here. So if I wanted to create, you know, exit signals using the in session here, start with the US equities. All right, there we go. So I just created, you know, these 5-minute blocks of time, right? 5 minutes before the markets close for the day, right? And so click OK. And yeah, so here we go. We can see if we now I have an exit signal here. Let's stretch this out, right? So on the last 5 minutes, you know, on my 1 minute chart here, I have exit signals. Again, you got to be mindful if you're using non-time based bars. So let's do, yeah, let's switch to say like 10 range. All right, so there's a 10 range chart. And I need to go back to Wednesday. There. Yeah, well, my 10 range wasn't a great example here because, yeah, the markets have been so volatile lately. Actually, 10 range on the NQ is nothing. This is a better example. Right, so again, the point being, if we're using non-time based bars here, you know, you got to be cognizant that, you know, the way NinjaTrader operates is you get signals when the bar closes, right? And so, let's see, let's look at the timestamp here, right? So this is at 1:50 p.m. and this bar closed at 1:56 and 24 seconds, right? So you can see basically we got one bar with an exit signal at 56 minutes and 24 seconds before, right? So basically 3.5 minutes before the market closed, we got an exit signal. So yeah, you just got to be mindful of, you know, that, you know, you're going to get an exit signal based on when the bar closes if you're using non-time based bars like this. So, all right, let's go back to the 1 minute chart. So while we could produce, you know, seemingly kind of cleaner looking exit signals like this, you know, what I would suggest is the better way, you know, is to use this other solver up here, right, which just produces exit signals during the entire overnight session, like this, right? And all these exit signals, right, you'll see them forever until the next morning, and then your exit signals go away. So again, kind of, you know, two ways of doing the same thing using the in session versus the not in session. I think that does it.